I welcome all the learners to this presentation on telephone etiquette, which I believe is very essential skill to have for all the students of hospitality and hotel management. And for that, I would like to use this presentation which I have prepared. And this presentation is based on the Oberois. And I believe that it's going to be a very useful presentation for all my students of hospitality. It's a perfect presentation and it will help all the students to get the basics right of telephone handling. Etiquette, I believe it's easy to understand. It's a French word. Etiquette basically means a ticket to the upper strata of the society, because the society is considered to be very civilized, polite, aristocratic society. So etiquette are your manners that will open the doors for you to the highest level of the society. So as we start this presentation, picking up the phone is very essential within 3 rings. This is a rule because time is in short supply these days. It always was for people who are successful, who have money, and who are busy. So making people wait for a response on the telephone is just not acceptable. So these 3 rings is a standard everywhere now in hospitality across the world. Now, it is very interesting to see in this presentation that this posture, this person that you can see sitting on a chair with legs put up on the table, this is a wrong posture because this conveys a tone. Your tone of voice gets influenced by your posture, your body language, by the expressions on your face. And therefore, if you're feeling very relaxed, too relaxed, it just might pass on to the guest and the guest may not like it. So this is the right posture on the right. This gentleman is standing or maybe sitting erect and then talking normally. So this posture is very important. And what is interesting is that the guest cannot actually see us. Most of the calls are not video calls. And therefore, even when we are not visible, our attitude is actually apparent to the caller on the phone through the tone of our voice. This is again another interesting case and a piece of advice that while speaking on the phone also, even though you are not visible, if you smile, that pleasantness of your voice gets carried through to the receiver and they actually feel happy when they listen to your voice. These are elements of para-language communication. These are the non-verbal elements of communication, and we need to be aware of these issues and aspects. So smiling on the phone when you answer the phone is very important. Now, this voice has to be low-pitched. This is because the microphone, it functions based on our frequency. Low frequencies are handled better by the microphone, and the sound is also more clear and more pleasant. Modulation is the variation. You have to modulate your voice according to the emotions, the situations, and the meanings of the words that you are using, and the right volume. Volume is the level of the sound, how low or how high the volume is. So the right volume means it's just the normal, natural volume of your voice that you use every day. During the conversation, speak in a natural tone. Like I said, just like you speak to somebody in a day-to-day conversation in the hotel. I'm talking about talking to a guest, talking to a senior or a colleague. You need to speak in the same natural tone. A telephone does not make much of a difference in the way you talk to anybody. This is again a technical advice. Keep the mouthpiece of the telephone in which you are actually speaking about 1.5 inches away from the mouth. The reason, if you keep the mouthpiece too close, number one, your breath will keep on, bombarding the receiver. So it will create those static noises. And moreover, the sound may not be very clear because you're speaking very close to the mouthpiece. And you may also be too loud for the listener if you are very close to the mouthpiece. So that is the reason why you should not speak very close to the mouthpiece. Moreover, if you keep it far from your mouth, If you keep it very far, then chances are you will not be audible to the guest. And this is very obvious. Please don't cover the mouthpiece with your hand, because then the vibrations from your mouth will not reach the microphone in the handset, and your voice will not be registered by the device, and you'll fail to communicate. You'll fail to actually respond to the guest. They'll hear nothing. So what you should do? Of course, this goes without saying, hospitality students, being polite is like the same as etiquette to the high society. For instance, this sentence here, please allow me to place your call on hold. Please allow me to place you on hold. This is how you actually ask the guest to stay online while you do something else. Use the guest's name, but not too many times. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Smith. So, Mr. Smith, Miss Smith, whoever the guests are, and whatever the gender is, use your sentences accordingly. And don't use the guest's name more than 2 or 3 times. Speak in complete sentences. What it means is, don't use half sentences. Okay, yeah, sure. Whatever you wish to speak, speak in a complete, grammatically correct sentence. For example, don't say your name, please. Instead, you need to ask, may I have your name, please, sir? Or may I have your name, please, ma'am? The Taj hotels have a standard of 10 seconds, and the Oberois, as you can notice, have a duration of 15 seconds, maximum duration for which any associate can put a caller on hold. If you have to put a caller for more than 15 seconds on hold, this is like, then you must offer the guest to call them back. Call them back within 5 minutes. Then don't rush through the greetings or mumble. Mumbling is like speaking in such a way that you're not very clear. You're speaking in a very low volume. That is mumbling. So mumbling is, of course, a lack of confidence, a lack of interest, and even a lack of manners. And don't rush through it. Don't speak too fast. You'll realize that these sentences, these greetings, or these conversations, they are a daily routine. You'll be speaking on the phone a number of times. You have to repeat the same process with every guest, and you have to, speak in full sentences each and every time. You have to have a very formal way of communicating, and therefore, sometimes people get impatient. They lose their patience, and that is why this advice is given to all of you, not to rush through, not to speak too fast. Don't say, hold on, please, or just a minute. These are informal ways of talking to someone. Remember, our relationship with the guest is very formal and a short duration relationship. So you have to do your best to make the right impression and hold that relationship for a long period of time. Don't say okay, don't say bye. These are very informal kinds of half sentences used preferably only with friends and people who you know very well, but not with your guests of a hotel. Yeah, it might sound stylish when you hear a Hollywood star say yeah or yeah. You may feel like it is very stylish and I should also use it with my guest. But no, no, yeah is a slang, it is impolite. It's a very casual way of speaking, and we always need to say yes to the guest. Being diplomatic is an art which hospitality professionals must master. And as a diplomat in a foreign country, you never say no to anything. To the host country, you always say maybe. We'll find something, we'll do this, or we can do that as well. We'll find a solution. So in hospitality, we never refuse a guest for anything. We never say a no. Anything which is legal, of course, and ethical and moral. So we always need to offer alternatives if what the guest is requesting is not available. Now, this is very interesting. Many of us think that saying kindly is polite. And most of us, even I, use kindly many times. But as you can see, the Oberoi says, don't use kindly, just use please. So I think we'll keep that in mind while responding to our guests on the telephone. We'll not say kindly, we'll always say, please hold on. Please hold on for a second. Please stay on the line for a moment. So when you receive a call for the first time, how do you respond? So you always say something like Hotel Taj or Hotel Oberoi, Hotel IHM, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the time is, good evening, and then simply, how may I assist you? So together it will be like Hotel Taj, good morning, how may I assist you today? If you notice, they have not announced their name. So we will not use our names while answering a hotel phone call. Long distance calls are maybe from a different city, different state, or a different country. So remember that these are expensive. These may be expensive for the guest, and therefore, we should not let the guest hold the line for a long time because he or she will be spending a lot of money for just waiting. There is a rule that if the guest has to wait for more than 10 or 15 seconds, request the guest, request them to finish the call now, and then promise to call them back within 5 to 10 minutes time. So this is a general etiquette that you must follow. Do not make the guest hold the line for too long, not more than 10 to 15 seconds. So let's see, the guest has asked to speak in a particular room, and if the telephone is busy, so you may wait for some time. But if it is taking too long, and maybe that particular guest who is being called is on another different call, which is very important to that guest, then therefore we need to ask this guest, so we'll call you back, or you may call back after some time, depending upon what the situation is. So depending on what the guest says, whether they would like to stay online and wait, or would they like to call back, or would they like us to give them a call back. However, the hotel policy is very important with this regard, whether you are permitted to call back long distance to an unknown caller. So therefore, I would advise you to confirm from your hotel whether you can call back an international caller. And I don't think it will be possible to call everyone back. So either they stay online or they need to call back again after some time. So this information has to be given out very clearly, whether they can stay or whether they need to call back. So let us say somebody has been waiting and you have told them that that extension is busy and now the line is free, it is ringing, the call can be connected. So when you get back to the caller who called you in the first place, do not say hello. Instead, what you need to say is, thank you for your patience, sir. Thank you for your patience, ma'am. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for staying online. And then, in case you need to call the guest back, then you again have to tell them who you are. So that greeting has to be all over again. Tell your name. Good morning, Mr. Singh. This is Anu from the reception. And you asked for Mr. XYZ, whoever the guest was. Now, sometimes you are not able to understand what the guest is saying. Lines are bad, they're blurry, or there is some noise, there is some kind of a disturbance. Some disturbance which does not permit the communication to complete. And in that case, you have to excuse yourself with this statement. I beg your pardon, sir. I beg your pardon, ma'am. Pardon me, please. Something like that. So pardon is a term used when you're not able to hear clearly and you need the guest to repeat themselves. If the guest asks for something for which you don't know the answer, then you have to check. So you have to inform the guest, sir, I will have to check on this. May I put your call on hold for a moment, please? So with this, you can play the music, you can switch on the music. There is a button for music. And then you can check whatever it is on your computer or with your superior, with your senior, or with your colleague or some other department, and then come back to the guest and then inform them. If the guest asks the front office or the telephone operator for something which is the responsibility of some other department, then what will you say? You'll not say, it is not my job, this is not our department, this is the wrong department, you need to call up the room service. What you would say is, certainly ma'am, certainly sir, I'll ask the room service to bring it up to you, to get it to your room as soon as they can. So remember that we are a team, a hotel is a team. Departments are, of course, for division of labor, for efficiency, and for effectiveness. But ultimately, for the guest, the entire hotel is one, and we are a part of that one team. So we will not refuse any request from any guest. We'll do our best wherever it is possible. So when a guest calls the telephone operator and they're asking for someone from the front desk, remember, we are trying to learn here about the telephone operator's job. So if the telephone operator gets a request to call somebody from the front desk, then what should we say? Certainly, sir, certainly, ma'am. Please allow me to place your call on hold while I call Anu. Anu is the front office assistant who's being called. So you need to place the call on hold and then, of course, make a call to Anu and ask her to connect with the guest. In case a guest or there is a call for someone from the spa and they want to speak to them, and then the person who has been called, in this case, Anu was called. So when Anu comes to receive the call, then we say, thank you for your patience. And then Anu will respond, Anu is speaking, how may I assist you today? So every time any employee is interacting with a guest, the process remains the same. Thank you for calling. Thank you for your patience, your name, and then how may I assist you? In case a guest wishes to speak to a department which is closed at the moment, in that case, you have to tell them, I'm so sorry to inform you that the beauty parlor is closed at the moment. Would you like to leave a message? May I take a message for the beauty parlor? If they wish to leave a message, you may take down the message on a message slip or a message card. If not, then thank the guest for calling. If the guest calls you and says, she is feeling unwell, now this is a very serious matter, and you must first of all say, I'm very sorry to hear that, sir or ma'am. And then immediately we have to offer this choice. May we call a doctor for you? All good hotels have a doctor on call, and the doctor can come within 15 minutes to any hotel. And this facility is always available at all good hotels to all the guests. And of course, if you have been told that some guest is not feeling well, then this news must be conveyed to the supervisor of your department so that if things get out of control, out of hand, then we may be able to make arrangements immediately. An ambulance may be called, a shifting to the hospital may happen. In the unfortunate incident of a death, a lot of procedures have to be followed. The police has to be called, a doctor has to be called for certification. So your supervisor and your seniors must know if a guest is not feeling well in the hotel. Transferring a call. This is, of course, you're a mediator. Somebody has called and they want to speak to somebody in some other room or an extension number. So how do you transfer the call? Before transferring the call, you must ask for the complete name of the guest, because when you ask the person who has been called, let us say that person is a callee, a caller and a callee. So the callee would ask, who is it that is calling me? And they would want to know the full details because they may not wish to speak to that person. This person could be someone who's unpleasant. This person may be someone they don't want to talk to. So we need to actually confirm the full name and the details as much as we can before asking our hotel guest to receive a call from an outsider. So don't allow all calls unchecked to the guest rooms. You must screen them by first verifying, like, who is it? Who is calling? The caller has asked you the telephone operator, to connect you to Mr. Dayal. So we have to ask their name. And we asked it. Certainly, sir. Who should I say is calling Mr. Dayal? This is like asking for their name. So Mr. Dayal is asking, who is calling? Then note down the name of the caller. And then you say, with pleasure, allow me to transfer your call to Mr. Dayal. This is as good as saying, please stay online while I transfer your call to Mr. Dayal. And then, before transferring the call actually to the hotel guest, you first speak to the guest. Good morning, Mr. Dayal. This is Anu calling from the front desk. Mr. Rogers is online for you. Would you like to take the call? And only when he says yes, then you should connect the call. However, if Mr. Dayal says yes, then we could come back to Mr. Rogers, who has called and who wishes to speak to Mr. Dayal, and we would say, with pleasure, allow me to connect the call to Mr. Dayal, and then you connect the call to Mr. Dayal. You tell Mr. Dayal first, allow me to connect the call, and then you connect to Mr. Rogers. Sometimes the guest may refuse to take a call. They'll say, no, tell them I'm not in the room. And in that case, you have to say, thank you for your patience, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Dayal is not in his room. Would you like to leave a message for him? And then you could take a message for Mr. Dayal from Mr. Rogers. If any guest has requested us, the telephone operator, the telephone department, for a DND, that is, do not disturb, do not route any calls to the room, then you have to inform Mr. Rogers, who's the caller. Mr. Dayal is not in his room, sir. Would you like to leave a message for him? And then when the guest, and the caller, Mr. Rogers, if he has to leave a message, then take his message, note it down, of course, always write down the messages, and then allow me to repeat your message, which is confirming whether what you have taken down is exactly what Mr. Rogers had in mind. And then read out that message, whatever you have taken down. If it is correct, Mr. Rogers will say, yes, that's correct. And then finally we say, have a nice day, Mr. Rogers. And whoever the caller is, in this case, Miss Gomez, we will say, have a nice day, Miss Gomez. Thank you for calling Hotel IHC. In case the guest has not yet checked in, but he or she is due to check in later during the day, then we have to inform the caller, Mr. Dayal has not yet checked in, he's not yet arrived, and may I take a message for him? Take the message. In case there is no guest in the room, nor is there any reservation for that day, in that case, we have to inform them, I'm sorry, sir, but there is no guest by that name staying with us, nor do we have any reservation by that name. I'm very sorry to inform you. Sometimes it's possible that the guest has just checked out the same day, just a while ago, or he or she checked out yesterday or day before yesterday. In that case, also, you have to inform this caller, I'm sorry, but Mr. Dayal has already checked out. We may have details of Mr. Dayal with us, but I don't think it is pertinent, it is advisable to share those details with any caller without the guest's permission. It is not advisable at all. When you're trying to reach an extension number in the hotel, a room or the department, and that is engaged, it is busy. In that case, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry, ma'am, but the extension is busy at the moment. Would you like to be on hold or would you like to leave a message? So whatever is the choice of the guest, we follow that. If they wish to stay online, they stay. And if they wish to leave a message, we take the message. And the moment the line becomes free to the extension, thank you for your patience, sir. Thank you for your patience, ma'am. Allow me to transfer your call to whatever the extension number was or the department was. If the line is bad or not clear and we can't hear, I'm sorry, sir, but the line is not clear at the moment. Could you speak more loudly, please? Now this, in my opinion, is a very sensitive matter. Asking a guest to speak loudly. I would wish to avoid saying this to a guest because for me, a guest is like a king or a queen. And I wouldn't dare ask a king or a queen to speak in a manner other than his or her natural way of speaking. So be very careful before using this line. Only when it becomes really unavoidable, then you should ask the guest to speak louder. Now we come to the final part of the call. When we are ending the call, you must again reconfirm if there's something else that the guest requires from us, from our side. And then we say something like, is there anything else that I can do for you today? Is there anything else I can help you with, sir, ma'am? And then when they say no, then we say, thank you for calling the Oberoi. Thank you for calling the front desk, and have a lovely day. Have a pleasant day. Have a great day. Your choice, whichever option you wish to pick. When you are ending a call, do not put the receiver down immediately after thanking the guest. Don't be in a rush. Wait. Wait for the guest to at least say thank you or say bye to you. And moreover, you should always put the phone down after the guest has put their phone down. So you should wait for the guest to put the phone down before you put your phone down. And that is the end of this presentation on telephone etiquette. I hope it was very useful to all of you. Thank you for attending my session. And I will now come back to all of you for the live question and answer round. Let's get into the live question and answer round. Thank you so much.